Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Reading Layamon's Brut. This is our second episode on the Lear story. We pick up where we left off last time. Lear had decided that the best way to divide his kingdom among his three daughters is that he would ask them how much they loved him, and then each would give a speech demonstrating her affection, and whoever gave the best speech or demonstrated the most love for her father would get the better part of the kingdom. And so we heard from the first two daughters, Goneril and Regan, and Layamon told us that both their speeches were disingenuous, and to be fair, they were pretty over the top. So now we're about to hear from the youngest and the third daughter, Cordelia. So we pick up at line 1510. Daiet nulde the Leard Kinga, his sothchipa beleven. He hechte kommen him beforen, his dochter Cordelia. Here was allre youngest, of sotha jaar wittelest. And the king here lovede mare, than ba twae the othre. Cordelia, I heard the lesinge, the hire susteren seiden don kinge. Nom hire leful ne hwie, that hier lichen nulden. Hire vader he wilde suje seeth, where him leef, where him lath. Der queste alde king unrad him fulete. I heren itje wulle of they, Cordelia, swa they helpe Apollin, who dere they bear lief mean. Then still the people king would not leave off or abandon his foolishness. He ordered his daughter Cordelia, to come before him. She was the youngest of all, the most ready-witted, literally, the most ready-witted of truth. So she is the most prudent and the wisest. And the king loved her more than both the two others. Cordelia heard the lying which her sisters said to the king. She took upon herself, or to herself, a faithful or a sincere or a genuine oath. Now for this word hwie, as a variant of the word oath, we have met it before, and I discussed it at some length in the video on the sins of Lochran right at the beginning, so I won't elaborate on it again here, but you can have a look at that video if you want further discussion of it. So she took a faithful, a sincere, a genuine oath upon herself that she would not lie. She would say the truth to her father, if it were pleasing to him, if it were dear to him, or if it were hateful to him, so whether he liked it or not. Then the old king spoke. Foolishness, and I would have read this as being filled, so I would have taken this to mean a lack of counsel filled him. Frederick Madden changes it, well, he doesn't necessarily change it, but he reads it as foolishness or a lack of counsel followed him. Barron and Weinberg do paraphrase this a little bit, so their translation it's not quite literal, so I'm still inclined to take this as filled rather than followed, but feel free to disagree with me in the comments, because I would be curious and very interested to hear if anyone has any different views here. But so foolishness filled him, lack of counsel filled him. And Lear now speaking, this is what he said. He says, I will hear from you, Cordelia, as Apollo or Apollin help you. So help you, Apollo or Apollin. I will hear how dear my life is to you. Da answarte Cordelia, lude en nooicht stille, mit gomene en mit lechtre, to hire vader leve. Der art mij leef also mi vader, en ich they also die dochter. Ich habe to they sothfaste love, for webert swide is siber. En swa ich bide are, ich wille they sugemare, als wa muchel du bist wort, swa welden ert. And alswa muchel swa havest, men the wullet lovien. Forsona her bith ilathed, the mon the lutel ach. Thus side the maiden Cordelia, and Sethan sets with a stile. Then Cordelia answered, loudly and not a bit quietly or peacefully. This is interesting, with game and with laughter, so she doesn't seem to appreciate the gravity of the situation, or at least that's what I'd take away from this. She seems to be saying, don't be silly, Dad. I mean, look, wake up. Look what's going on here. So she says to her father, to her dear father, you are dear to me as my father, and I to you as your daughter. So it's an honest answer. It's not over the top like her two sisters' answers were. I have for you a truthful or a genuine love, for we are very, and we could understand something like closely is implied here, we are very closely related. And as I seek favor, or as I seek favor or grace, I will say more to you. I will elaborate further. And there is a comparison to be drawn here between the way Cordelia is framing her speech and the way that Goneril framed her speech. You are worth, or you are honored, all as much, so all as greatly, as you are, and we would read this here as a W rather than a V, as you welden, as you are ruler of, or as you are ruling. And just as much as you have, or as you own, people will love you. So basically, if you're the king and you ask people how much they love you, you're going to have a tough time getting an honest answer, especially if you're about to hand out bits of your kingdom to them if they give you an answer that you like. I mean, you really have to beware of flattery, is what she's saying. For soon he, and I'm reading this as the singular, so without the O, soon he is hated, and see here the previous discussion about the instability between the th and h sounds, so this would be something like ilathed. Soon he is hated, the man who owns or possesses little. Thus said the maiden Cordelia, and afterwards she sat very quietly. Tha iwartha the king werth, for he nest thea nochti quemed, and wenda on his thonke that he tweren for untheo, that he hira wira swa unworth, that he hina null iworthi. Swa hira twa sustran, the ba sumed lesinga speken. The king Lear I wertha swa black, swult hit a black cloth wearen. I wertha his hoede and his hue, for he was swither I harmed. Mid there retha he was I sweved, that he fell I swoven. Later there he opfuste, that maiden was a feared. Da hit alles uppbrak, it was uvel that he spake. Then the king became angry, for he was not at all pleased then, and thought in his mind, that it were because of an unthua, so because of an evil or a vice. In this case, I think we could read this as a lack of duty, an undutifulness. So he thought it was because of this evil or this lack of duty that he became so dishonored to her, or by her, Cordelia, so dishonored that she would not honor him, as her two sisters had done before. Her two sisters, both of whom spoke lying together, spoke lies. The king Lear became so, and this word is a bit of a false friend. I don't think we've discussed it before, although we may have. Black doesn't mean black in our sense of the word. so much as it can. I mean, it can mean that, but what it really means is a lack of color. So we'd probably be better off translating this here as pale. So that the King Lear became so pale as though it were a pale cloth, a white cloth. His skin and his complexion changed, for he was greatly harmed, very greatly harmed, with the wrath. Or actually, well, let's take this as a new clause. With the wrath, with the anger that he felt, he was overcome, something to that effect. It's difficult to bring this literally into modern English without being repetitive, so it's something like he was faint, maybe he grew faint. He grew faint so that he fell swooned. He fell passed out in a swoon. At last, when he started up, the maiden was afraid. When he broke it all up, so he broke into speech, it was evil that he spoke. Herne Cordelia, ich they telle wille mine wille, of mine dochteren, thu were me durest, no thu erst me arle leethest. Ne shalt thu halden dale of mine lande, ach mine dochteren ich wille delen mine riete, and thu shalt worthen warten, and wonien in one seethe. For never ich ne wende, that thu me wuldest thus schanden, therefore thu shalt be undead ich wene. Vlieg out of mine eichsene, dine schullen haben mine kinneland, and this me is iqueme. The Duke of Cornwall shall have Cornwall, and the Scottene king regau that schone. And each hem jeva all the wine, the each am wildinge over. Lear speaking, here, Cordelia, listen now, Cordelia, I will tell you my will. You were the dearest to me of my daughters. Now you are to me the most hateful of all. You shall not hold a part or a portion of my land, but my daughters, but I will divide my kingdom among my daughters, and you shall become poor. So daughters meaning the eldest two, not Cordelia. And you shall become poor and dwell in misfortune. For I never thought that you would thus shame me. Therefore, you shall be dead, I believe. So I shall think of you as dead. You're dead to me, is what he's saying. As far as my thinking is concerned, I'll regard you as dead. I'll consider you as though you were dead. Fly out of my eyesight. Get out of my sight. There's a word missing here, and this is not a problem with the manuscript or the edition that we're using. I do apologize for this. This is an issue with me copying the text into the slideshow. I seem to have missed a word somehow. When I was copying and pasting, it must have got deleted on a line break. I don't know. But anyway, this should be Thina Susteren. So your sisters shall have my kingdom, and this is pleasing to me. The Duke of Cornwall shall have Goneril, and the King of the Scots shall have Regan, the bright or the beautiful. And I give to them all the treasures, all the wealth which I am ruling over. And all the King gedode, swa he have di demede. Ofte was then maidne wa, and never worse than a tha, wa here wes on mode, for here a father warthe. Here wende into here a boere, there here ofte sat a sare. For here nulde liegen, here a father leve. That maide was swithen swomfast, for here a father here schunde, and doede then a beste rede, in here a boere here a bed. And tholede then a modkare, and mornede swithe, and thus an stund hit stund Athon Ilke. And the old king did all as he had judged. Often was the maiden woe, often was she sorrowful, and never worse than then. Woe was to her in mind because of her father's wrath. She went into her chamber, she sat often sorrowfully, because she would not lie to her dear father. The maiden was very ashamed, or greatly ashamed, because her father shunned her, and she did the best counsel. She remained in her chamber, and suffered the sorrow of mind, suffered mind sorrow, and she mourned very much. And thus, for a time, it stood always like this, in the same way. And that is where we will leave off today. Now, I will try to get the next video out next week. However, I've started up teaching again, so I don't have as much time as I did over the break. So I do apologize if the videos become a bit less frequent, but we should make it to the end of the Lear story. The videos won't be too long, so it shouldn't be too much trouble, but I can't make any assurances there. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or corrections, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can do that either by way of the comment section below this video or on the Facebook page for the video series, and you can find a link to that Facebook page in the video description. All the best, and I'll see you next time.